Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to another Q&A for the Green Film Festival of San Francisco 2023. I'm Jason Wallace, one of the programmers, and we're lucky enough to have the filmmaker for The Bee with us. Hey, Kim,
Hi,
where are you calling in from?
calling from Boston.
Right on. And your program was part of Wildlife and All Things Wild. I can't remember the name exactly, but The Bee, what inspired you to make your movie?
Well, we've lived in Boston for for 20 something years, and it's something that I just in my travels around in living in Boston, there are a lot of people in this area that live in the city and they don't really get out in nature because there's for whatever reason they don't really have access to it, or they don't really get out in nature. And I have a lovely community of people where we are always trying to get kids and families out in nature. And Boston is the type of city where we have nature outside our doors. It's right out the back doors, but people still are just not getting out into nature and connecting it. And so one of the things that I do is I'm a beekeeper, and we have a great community of beekeepers. And there's one gentleman who just stands out among everybody. He's a mentor to many people, and he volunteers and goes
So,
to
so are
schools and
you a
teaches kids.
full-time beekeeper?
No, sorry, I should say that I'm a director and a photographer in advertising.
Okay,
Yes,
I figured you're
sorry.
a filmmaker too. No, no, I was just making sure I was clarifying that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
so,
what I am first. Yeah.
right, right. And how long have you been beekeeping?
So about 5 years. And then this gentleman who is this mentor to many people, he's someone who's kind of a quirky guy. He's just really amazing and very Zen-like, and he teaches everybody, and he really inspires people to get out into nature, but mostly to watch bees, look at pollinators, pay attention. And he rides on his bike around the city, half the time having 10,000 bees on the back of his bike as he's biking through the city. People would
Wow.
just have no idea. It's hilarious. But he's taking them to kids and teaching them and volunteering. He doesn't even get paid to do this. He goes in and teaches children in classrooms and at the Boston Nature Center, which is part of the Mass Audubon here in Boston. And it's
So,
just excellent.
so how did you get the idea for this film? Did he pass you by on his bike one day, or like
So I just know him, and I've known him for a long time. And everybody knows him, whether you're a beekeeper or
just from
not.
your neighborhood?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And I live in an area of Boston that, there's there's quality nature, really nice nature right outside our door. And it's not like you're in the city. There's lots of trees and tree covers, and a lot of people are working to expand tree coverage and all of that in our area. But he is someone who is someone of everyone just knows. He's that person that when you have when, like, we had a cat up in our tree once, and we called him because he is the one that'll go up 100-foot tree to get the
Uh,
cat. Like,
uh,
everybody just knows him.
uh,
So I had this idea for a project called In Their Nature, where I highlight people where it's just in their nature to get kids out in nature. And there's so many of these people who nobody films them, nobody they don't really get their story out there. And
right,
me, as someone who works in advertising and had, there was all our work was shut down, during the
uh,
pandemic.
right.
I was like, this is the time I can shoot this, as opposed to just always saying, oh, it's something I'll do later, something I'll
Right.
do later.
And
Yeah,
this is a segment as part of In Their
yes.
Nature. And have you filmed any other parts of this yet?
Yes, good question. So I just finished shooting The Seed, which is second. And The Seed is about this amazing woman who 25 years ago started with one school in Cambridge, one garden, and made it into 24 schools and 24 gardens, and then had the curriculum put into the public school system's curriculum for science, so that it's a learning space. It's part of the classroom now, the garden that's
Got
outside.
it. Got
It's amazing. And then the third one of that is The Root. So I start shooting that in early next year. And
Oh, right
that's
on.
about a guy who started a farm in Dorchester. and he gives jobs to teenagers who are having trouble or just having a hard
Right on.
time.
So did you become inspired by your own? So, like, were you a beekeeper before you made this movie, or you became a beekeeper because you filmed Bill Norris and this subject?
Ah, good question. But no, I was a beekeeper before this.
And is that
Right.
why you did it first? Is that why you did this?
Yeah, so I wouldn't look like a fool as I'm shooting and be like, what's this person doing? I'll tell you, I never once got stung shooting this film, so I can say that. Um, but no, I was a beekeeper before because I'm a gardener. And I also go in and I teach kids about gardening in this public school systems here in Boston. And I light up. I see kids being just connecting with nature that in a way that's just it's just really special. I mean, everyone who's watching this obviously knows because they care about nature. Otherwise,
Yeah,
they wouldn't be watching these films.
yeah,
But because of that and my lengthy time with my kids in the Boston public school system, their friends, we'd go out for hikes and adventures, and these children, some of them were just not getting out and lifting logs, lifting leaves,
yeah,
connecting with nature where it brings awe and wonder into their
yeah.
life.
Well,
And
I don't know about you. When I was a kid, this is before cell phones, of course, and all these distractions. If I was either alone or even with friends, it's like you went and played in the dirt, if you will, or you
that's
went and
right.
played in the garden or the lawn or with nature.
Yep.
And they don't
That's
do
right.
that
And you
anymore.
could discover, and in discovering all those things, you were discovering yourself. You were discovering so much of who you are,
Mm.
and children and families. I mean, I even some shoots that I work on in advertising, they're, I'll call one out, who now they're changing their way. They're incredible. But REI, I did a shoot with them where instead of shooting people in nature right out their back door and letting them know it's right there in their city, we left the city and went out and did a shoot outside the city
Right,
in a beautiful space, but we went to the woods. Well,
right,
what we're trying to do, my community, which Bill and Jane with the seed and Apollo with the root, is bring people to nature right out their back door. It's right out the back of their school, even.
yeah,
The snakes and stuff we find when we go explore that they just don't even realize is there.
right.
So anyway, I see. I told you we
That's
talk
quite
about
right.
this. We're at
Well, we
length.
want to hear from you, and
But
it's important. I think
it
I
is.
think that's something that's been lost or is being lost.
Yeah.
This learning to connect with nature, or at least observe nature, respect nature, be a part of nature from an early age.
Yeah.
Because we
Just
don't have to. We don't have kids as young people. We don't have to go explore. Explore.
right.
We don't have to leave the house really for our
And
own.
the attention, right? Like all of these big companies are spending a lot of money to keep us distracted and keep us indoors, right?
Uh,
So there have to be these people, which is part of why in their nature was important to me, is because these folks, like, they are through the pandemic, they never shut down. These are nonprofits that kept working and kept getting kids out in nature because that's was necessary, and they know that because they've been doing it at length. But these are also nonprofits that don't get attention. They don't have a lot of money. And so the least I can do, and I realized this as production shut down, I can shoot. I have friends. Someone else did the music. I have this great this production company here who did the animation. And then I shot. Like I went, I'm, I can say this because you're probably people might notice. I shot it myself. So I'm not
it looks great. It's
well,
fantastic.
but I mean, I bought a video camera about 3 weeks before I even started shooting the bee.
Uh,
So I was hoping to have a DP that I work with in advertising and a few different people on it, but it became such a struggle and people
mhm.
couldn't do it, or Bill was available. The bees, they're temperamental and you can't shoot them when it's dark. I mean, you can't shoot them when it's cold.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
want
yeah,
them
but you,
to
you
hang.
you got it done. You captured it.
Yeah.
You met
So
the challenge with the tools you
right.
had at your disposal.
And I had to, if I'm going to shoot people like this, I got to meet them. I have to be at the level that they are, what they
Yeah,
put in, the dedication that they put in. I need to do that too. I
yeah.
can't
It
saying,
might have
"Oh,
been.
you're
It might have been
available. Well,
actually
I'm not."
a blessing, an ideal situation with you as camera person and all other kind of roles because
Yeah,
you're working with bees and one person and kids. You can't really be intrusive, so
yeah.
maybe that was ideal for your situation.
Yeah, and that was, I think that did, there was access there that was, if we had a large group of people, like a regular team,
Yeah,
regular crew, those images, the kids would have been distracted and they would not have um,
right,
really shown us
right,
their awe and wonder. I mean,
right.
they really, none of that is faked.
Hmm.
None of that is me directing them. It was all
Yeah.
raw,
In the
beautiful. It
moment,
was all
yeah.
natural.
And does the beekeeper Bill Nor what's his name? Bill Perkins?
Bill Perkins, yeah, Bill
Does he
Perkins.
have a nonprofit for introducing kids to nature, or was that just for this film?
No, he has that and has been doing it quite a while. And
What's it called?
it's BABA, which is like, I always want to say ABBA, but it's BABA. So Boston Area Beekeepers Association.
Okay.
And there are a few people that are part of that. They're trying to raise some money for classroom hives, and which are hives that you can see into, but it's like a window. It's attached to like the school, and the bees come and go just as a beehive, but it's all transparent. You can see it, which is
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think, do you think audiences will take something away from this, or what do you hope audiences will get from
So
watching your movie?
that's a good question. I I have to say that
Like, do you
what
think
I hope.
you think kids will see this movie, or do you think,
So I okay, so I did take this in and I showed it to the children. Of course, they're all second graders. So in our community, second graders are learning about pollination. And that's why I focused on just the second graders for part of the film, because they are learning about it. So it's part of what they're reading, and it's part about what they're learning in the classroom. So I think that they just loved the fact that, oh, there's like, Jesus up on
yeah, right,
the
right, seeing
screen. And
themselves?
I think they like that. Plus they like that I brought the honey that day. So if you saw the film, they like their honey. But I think what's important is that while the kids may not see it, I think it's important for grown-ups to see it. I think that it's important that it's a short film, right? It's short, it's concise, but I was just trying to connect emotionally with people. So much of what we see and hear about nature is, it's a lot of scientific facts, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's oh, kids will respond and they do better in school. Yes, they do better in school, but you know what? When they're connected to nature, but it's more than that. It becomes part of their fabric, right? And it's
Mhm.
part of what grown-ups need to do. We need to give them access to it. We've got to lead them there and let them discover it. There's awe and wonder, but we can't just give it to them. They've got to learn and grow with it, right?
Yeah.
So part of my thinking is that we're hoping to have some sort of fundraiser with this. My intention was never to enter it into film festivals. I really didn't even expect that, but because I had such positive feedback from it, I thought this is going to help us get the word out.
Yeah.
And even though it maybe not internationally or nationally, but in my community, we need more awareness of people that are doing this and getting kids out in nature. There are a lot of there are a lot of organizations that need to be highlighted, and I'm just
Yeah.
starting. I mean, this is
And
my
maybe
first
maybe
film.
you'll even reinforce someone that's having a similar idea and hasn't taken action yet, or maybe you'll cause
Right.
someone to take action. You know.
That's right. And same for me. Like, shame on me for it taking me so long. I talked about this for ages. I talked about doing this project, but work and life, there's always excuses. And then, and I go and I volunteer with kids, but it's different when when during the pandemic, when there was no work, and it just opened up. Like, I had a whole new perspective on I think it changed everybody's perspective on life and work
Yeah.
and what's important. And I think that and I hope that it continues, because I don't want people to kind of shift back. But for me anyway, I realize that this is important and I need to continue on this. And so I'm
Yeah.
I'm dedicated to doing one a year, and this is the
So,
first.
so this may be obvious, but what was important to you about doing this? Like just filling your creative, itch, or was it
Um,
a message, or was it highlighting Bill? Or I mean, because to me, I was entertained by it too, and it was a joy to watch the kids being excited and learn about Bill. But for me, the message of making sure kids learn about nature, which seems to be less and less, was my
yeah.
biggest takeaway.
Yeah, and that I think that's it. I think that it's just a bonus that I happen to be a director and a photographer. And that was second. Like that wasn't even,
Mhm.
I didn't have a video camera. I didn't even know how I was going to shoot
Right,
it.
right. It wasn't like I got to make a short film. I got to film my creative thing because I got time right now. It's
Right.
like you wanted to
Yep.
share this story.
This story, exactly this story. It
Yeah.
wasn't just any story. It was, I have been working with the nonprofit City Sprouts for close to 10 years. And through the pandemic, that's the organization where they go into schools and bring gardens into the kids, and
Ah,
they're in 24 schools.
what's it called
They
again? Just
did
to
not,
repeat it. What's it called again? The
oh,
organization?
sorry, City Sprouts.
Okay,
And
cool.
they did not shut down, where you know, a lot of us stopped working, and maybe we were trying to work on our craft or work on side projects or anything like that. But um, these guys, they continued to teach. They dropped off packages to kids, all the students,
Hmm.
so that they could garden at home, even though they weren't in school.
Right.
And they still did virtual. They worked virtual. So, and same with Bill. He went, and Apollo, these guys, they still continued to work with children
Yeah.
with masks up, all of it. And I thought, wow, these guys are inspiring.
Yeah.
And these are people who we don't highlight enough in our community. So that inspired me because I thought, who is going to be, sorry, that's my
Sure.
phone. I didn't shut it off. But so that's the thing is they inspired me, and I realized they need screen time. They need people to be aware of what they're doing.
Yeah.
They These are people. The funny thing is, these individuals, they don't want to be shot. They do not want to be on screen. So Bill
Right.
did not. It was
Right.
the
Got
hardest
it.
thing for me to shoot because he didn't want to be photographed
Right.
whatsoever.
Right.
And I had to convince him. He's like, my story's not important. It's not interesting.
Uh-huh.
And
Quite
I
the
was like,
contrary. It is. It's very important.
it
Do you
is.
know if there's? Yeah, what he's doing is wonderful. He's making, even if it's a small impact, it's it has a ripple effect in these kids'
Right.
lives, let alone environment. Um,
Yeah. Yep.
do you think this is an environmental film?
I do. I think that what's important, one of the things that's not in the film, that was one of the first things that Bill said to me, when, because I did go through a period of just interviewing him, not shooting him. And I actually got to know him in a very different way. And I
Right.
realized he's even more spectacular than I even realized.
Mhm.
Um, because we sat down, and the first thing we were just talking about the environment, and he's very connected to the environment. I mean, this is someone who he goes out and makes sure that people are recycling. He does composting for the city. Like he does all these things. Beekeeping is just one highlight.
Many.
But so he said to me, he said, it's really hard to be a caring person right now. If it, because we were talking about the environment, because he struggles with where we are, where we're going, and it weighs on him. And so he does what he can, but he doesn't know if he's making a difference.
Mm.
And one of the things I said was, he is almost like a bee. And that's why I called it the bee. I didn't know I was going to call it that because he is someone who is connecting so many colonies.
Right.
He rides his bike to all these people. He doesn't even realize how important he is to the
Yeah.
colony, to this community. We're just lucky. And he mentors many of us. He teaches us. He goes, gets bees, drives them over on his bike, rides his bike over, will bring them to another location. He helps everybody who calls him. And so that to me is just like,
A bee.
a bee. And
Yeah.
he's, hopping from flower to flower, picking up knowledge and sharing it.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't even realize how important he is. Just like bees. Bees, oh my gosh. If bees
Right.
knew how important they are, you'd be getting stung a lot more. I can tell you that.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah,
As a wake up call.
yeah, right. He's a big bee, and bees are
Yeah.
super important. Um,
But
so
you're
would
right
you
about the
consider,
ripple effect. Sorry, I didn't mean to cover. But you were right when you said there's a ripple effect. That's exactly what I'm hoping.
yeah, yeah. Well, even with me, who I consider myself very aware and conscientious and nature loving, and
Yeah.
but maybe not an activist. What is an activist? Do you consider yourself an activist, or have you changed from making your movie?
Oh, good question. Oh, um, I consider myself to be an activist. Um,
Have,
but
yeah,
in a small way compared to these giants that are around me. And I do feel like they're giants. I mean, there's an author who is an activist that I am very close to. She's amazing and she works nationally and she is an activist. So I know what an activist is. And I think that I could say maybe I'm a junior activist. I think I'm
yeah, sure, sure.
small.
Well,
Yeah,
or maybe we all do our part on a daily basis, even a small, because we all intend and want the best, for the
right.
planet. I hope.
Yeah,
But sometimes we just feel overwhelmed, or just like life's too distracting or in the way. Like I got to get
yeah,
to my job. I got to take my gas car. I don't want to, but that's what I have, and
that's right.
you know,
And it's like, okay, I have my kids. I teach them about composting. I teach kids in other schools. We have worms. We talk about vermicomposting. We definitely work. I tend to be an activist on a small level, right?
yeah,
We
that's awesome.
we do the
Because that's
monarch butterflies. We save. We teach. But I think that it all starts with your community first. I think so
yeah,
many people are looking for national attention, and it's like just go just go out your door, go down the street, go to the school nearby,
yeah,
start there. Like we start seedlings. I don't, my kid is no longer at this school that's up the street, but I still go in there and we do seedlings and seeds and watch them grow and do all that. But, I just do it. They know me and they know I'm going to break the door down and make them let me in, but I
that's an
do it.
excellent idea to have some sort of community organization everywhere
Right.
to get the young people involved. To
And I
go
think
interact with
that through the
nature and
pandemic, I think there was a call to people to be more active in their community. And that's what I hope just kind of stays, right? That's what we don't need to go big or go home, right?
right,
Just go down the street, go outside. There are kids at the playground nearby, and even grown-ups. It's not even just children. This
yeah,
is something
yeah.
where Bill makes sure that he works with everybody who's interested in bees.
Do you know if have you learned by doing this project or this project, if there's anything that exists like this across the country, and an
So,
organization that seeks sprouts for kids, or
yeah,
even for yeah,
there are some, but it's interesting because we to get City Sprouts, right? They worked so hard to get that curriculum in place so that the schools found it important. If it's not part of your curriculum, then it's looked at as, oh, it's just a pretty garden. It's nice for the kids to be out there. When you know what? That garden is teaching those children how to have confidence. It's not just joyful. It is about them interacting with each other. I have seen children who are really frazzled in the classroom in the school environment. They come outside and they start to lead and
huh,
they teach other children about things in that garden, and
wow,
it's magic. It's just sorry, I always say that it's not magic, it's hard work,
hmm,
because the teachers work really hard to make it happen, and so do
right,
the nonprofits. And the same thing with the bees. The group that we went to, that second grade class that we went to, those teachers, they don't have a lot of money to get kids on field trips, right? To
right,
get them. So that's why Bill doesn't charge anything. He brings the bees to them,
mm,
or the bee, or them to the bees, and we make it work. And he's been doing that for a long time. So that's effort. So it's not magic. But I will say that when you see children around bees become, they're running around, but they become so calm and so focused and just so
yeah,
connected
yeah,
to that zen in the apiary or around the hive.
yeah,
There's nothing else that can teach them about that. And in nature, nothing else. I have seen children with snails holding them up, so afraid of everything, but they touch this little snail and they tell the little snail, I'll, s- I'm sorry, I have to go back to class, but I'll see you at recess. And they put him back and they tuck him in. You can't,
Yeah,
that's a different
yeah,
kind of connection.
yeah. It's teaching connection too,
And
and
if you're, and it's not fair that only kids outside our urban schools get those
yeah,
connections, right? That's my main
or
thing.
yeah, or that they get it mistakenly by chance or happenstance. It's like
Yes. These kids in the
you-
city, they're, these are my children's friends. And they know, like, we take them out, we go look at trees, we touch things, we close our eyes, we listen. It's a five sense. Like, nature is extraordinary, even on just individual senses. And then with all
true,
five, like,
true.
forget it, it's crazy.
Yeah,
There's so much to do
yeah,
and hear and see. And it's
yeah,
it's in the city. They kids need to just be able to realize, like, walking down the street, there are birds, we see hawks,
yeah.
there's just all these things that they may not even realize is there.
They need to be taught about that, just
Yep.
by interacting with it. Well, it's a sweet little film. It's a lovely little film,
Thank you.
and we're glad you made it.
Well, thank you.
And
Yes.
congrats for making it. Yeah,
Well, I know,
I
we'll
mean,
see what comes next, but thank you
yeah.
very much.
Congratulations on getting in our film festival, but it's also congratulations on getting it done, making the movie, right? Making
Yeah,
that sweet little short.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, that's all the time we have. It was lovely
Right.
meeting you. We look forward to
Thanks.
hearing about your other two projects, the root and the seed, or the seed and the root, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Great.
but
They're both working forward, moving forward. So thank you very much.
cool. And I hope to meet you in person someday.
Yeah. Great. All
All
right.
right,
Bye-bye.
thanks for watching, everybody. That's it for this Q&A. Check out more great films at sfindie.com. Thanks for watching. Bye, Kim.
Bye-bye.